All right, let's unpack this.
Sure.
Today, we're diving deep into a film that often gets a pretty rough reception, but one that's absolutely fascinating when you peel back the layers. Halloween. Resurrection. And we're taking a truly unique approach for this deep dive. Instead of sifting through, countless articles and reviews, we're actually going to focus intensely on one single, incredibly comprehensive source.
Right.
The Wikipedia entry for the film itself. Our mission here is to move beyond the surface level reviews and the quick dismissals you often hear.
Yeah, the hot takes.
Exactly. We want to genuinely understand the ambitions behind Resurrection, the pitfalls it encountered, and even some of the surprising details that shaped this 8th installment of the iconic Halloween franchise. It's going to be a journey through a very specific and, often debated corner of horror cinema.
What's truly fascinating here is how Halloween, Resurrection isn't just another sequel. It represents a pivotal and indeed intensely debated moment for a franchise that, let's be honest, has continuously reinvented itself.
Absolutely.
Sometimes for better, sometimes for worse, We're going to explore precisely why this particular entry generated such strong, often polarized reactions from both critics and fans. It tells us so much about the immense challenges of trying to keep a horror icon fresh, terrifying, and relevant over decades, especially when dealing with complex legacy characters and the shifting landscape of media itself.
Yeah.
Resurrection certainly tried to tackle that challenge head on for all its perceived flaws.
You're right, the context is everything. And this particular sequel faced, a serious uphill battle after H20 left. Things seemingly resolved, didn't it?
They really did. A tough act to follow.
So let's start by grounding ourselves in its place within the sprawling Halloween saga. This film, released on July 12, 2002.
Right. Early 2000s.
Exactly. It's the direct sequel to Halloween H20, 20 years later, and more importantly, it marks the definitive end of that specific H20 timeline.
That's key. The end of that continuity.
Which makes it a critical, albeit controversial, bridge that directly led to later reboots of the franchise. Its early 2000s release date also places it squarely in a distinct era for horror cinema, a time when the genre was eagerly experimenting with new forms, new technologies, new influences.
Definitely. Things were changing.
And here's where it gets really interesting. Reading through the premise on Wikipedia, the film's core idea sees Michael Myers continuing his murderous rampage in his old stomping ground of Haddonfield.
Classic Michael.
But with a significant twist. His childhood home is being used for a live internet horror show.
Right. The Dangertainment angle.
Yeah, which immediately hints at this ambitious, perhaps even, desperate blend of classic slasher tropes with the emerging reality TV and online voyeurism trends that were just starting to dominate pop culture back then.
It felt like a very deliberate attempt to modernize, to be of the moment.
Totally.
Precisely. The challenge for the filmmakers after H20's dramatic, and what many thought was a definitive conclusion, was truly immense. How do you possibly create a sequel that not only follows such a strong, emotionally charged predecessor?
Especially when Jaime Lee Curtis wanted to be the end.
Exactly. But also manages to keep Michael Myers alive for potential future installments, especially given the franchise's contractual obligations around his survival. That Akkad clause.
Yeah, that looms large over the whole series, doesn't it?
It really does. So Resurrection was their answer to that seemingly impossible question. Diving into the foundational details from the Wikipedia page, Halloween, Resurrection was directed by Rick Rosenthal.
Oh, interesting. He did Halloween the second.
That's right. A significant point because he also helmed Halloween the second back in 1981. So they brought back a familiar face, maybe hoping to capture some of that original magic or, continuity.
Makes sense.
The screenplay was penned by Larry Brand and Sean Hood, with Paul Freeman producing. And the cast list, well, it's quite indicative of that early 2000s moment in entertainment.
Yeah, I saw the names.
I have Busta Rhymes, Bianca Kajulich, Thomas Ian Nicholas, Ryan Merriman, Sean Patrick Thomas, and Tyra Banks. All recognizable faces from that era's teen and music video culture.
Very much so. MTV generation casting, almost.
Kind of, yeah. And, of course, the queen herself, Jaime Lee Curtis, returns as Laurie Strode, albeit briefly.
Crucially briefly.
And for this particular outing, Brad Laurie stepped into the iconic mask and overalls as Michael Myers. Historically speaking, this film arrived 5 years before Rob Zombie's polarizing 2007 remake.
Right, the start of the next big reboot phase.
And a full 16 years before David Gordon Green's soft reboot in 2018. This underscores its role as a transitional and, as we'll definitely delve into, quite controversial piece in the franchise's evolution. It marks a point where the series was genuinely grappling with its own longevity and future direction.
Okay, now let's jump straight into what is arguably the most discussed and for many longtime fans the most criticized, I mean maybe even reviled aspect of Halloween, Resurrection, the fate of Laurie Strode.
Yeah, this is the big one for a lot of people.
So we pick up 3 years after the intense events of Hillcrest Academy in age 20. Laurie, understandably, is consumed by guilt from what she believes she did, and she's institutionalized in Grace Anderson Sanitarium. Sounds plausible so far.
Sits a dark tone.
But then comes the bombshell reveal, the twist detailed right there in the plot summary that sent shockwaves through the fan base. The person she decapitated in age 20, whom she genuinely believed was Michael Myers.
Her big triumphant moment.
Was in fact a paramedic Michael had switched clothes with and, crucially, had rendered mute to prevent him from crying out.
Wow. That just undoes age 20's ending completely.
Exactly. So what does this shocking twist mean for Laurie's character? It immediately and brutally amplifies her paranoia. It plunges her deeper into fear, forcing her to confront the agonizing possibility of making that same devastating mistake again.
Which makes sense psychologically, I guess.
It's an incredibly dramatic, if really contentious, internal conflict that sets the stage for her final moments.
It absolutely does. And to truly understand why this controversial plot development occurred, we have to look behind the scenes at the production dilemmas, which the Wikipedia entry details quite fascinatingly.
Right. It wasn't just a random story choice.
Not at all. The writers of Halloween Age 20 faced an immense challenge. Jaime Lee Curtis, as we know, was determined to end the series definitively with Age 20. She felt Laurie's story had reached its natural, heroic conclusion.
And she'd earned it, frankly.
Absolutely. However, Moustapha Akkad, the longtime producer and the true guardian of the Halloween franchise, had that contractual clause that legally prevented Michael Myers from being killed off permanently.
The unkillable clause.
Basically, yeah. This was a massive, almost insurmountable hurdle for the writers trying to give Curtis her desired ending. It was Kevin Williamson, who was involved in Age 20, who stepped in and devised the ingenious, albeit highly debated, paramedic storyline as a direct compromise.
Ah, so Williamson came up with that specific loophole.
According to the production notes, yes. This complex maneuver allowed Curtis to participate in Age 20 under a very specific condition: that the film would not hint at a sequel, and that the audience would be genuinely led to believe Michael was dead.
Which Age 20 definitely does.
Until a sequel was officially announced and this twist could be revealed. The dedication to this loophole is quite telling. The Wikipedia page notes that the very first shot of Michael in the paramedic uniform for Resurrection was actually filmed the day after Age 20's principal photography had wrapped.
Wow, they didn't waste any time locking that in.
Nope. Shows just how determined they were to keep that door open, even as they gave Laurie her big cathartic moment in Age 20.
So flash forward to Resurrection. Laurie, now knowing Michael is still out there, anticipates his inevitable return. She meticulously sets a trap for him on the sanitarium's roof, preparing for their final confrontation.
Playing offense this time.
Michael, true to his relentless nature, appears and chases her there. Her trap works, successfully incapacitating him for a moment. But here's where her internal turmoil, the direct result of that paramedic twist, comes brutally into play.
That hesitation.
Exactly. Her profound fear of killing the wrong person again, of making that same mistake, overwhelms her. She hesitates, reaching out to remove his mask to confirm his identity, to truly know it's him.
A fatal hesitation.
That single agonizing moment proves fatal. Michael seizes the opportunity, stabs her, and then throws her off the rooftop to her death.
Just gut-wrenching. Such an iconic character.
It really is. And to make matters even more chilling, and to provide a convenient escape for himself, Michael then gives his knife to a mental patient, effectively framing him for the murders of Laurie and 2 security guards.
Cold. Calculated. Very Michael Myers, actually.
It is. So this raises an important question for us. How did Laurie's death, as an iconic final girl and the heart of the franchise for decades, fundamentally reshape the narrative possibilities for the Halloween universe?
Yeah, what does Halloween even look like without Laurie?
And what did it suggest about the franchise's willingness to make incredibly bold, albeit incredibly divisive, choices just to continue its story? It really forced a reevaluation, didn't it?
It absolutely did. It forced a hard pivot leading to entirely new directions because, well, where else could they go from there without her?
Laurie's exit certainly left an indelible mark and, yeah, a very strong reaction from the fan base. But the film then pivoted dramatically to introduce a completely new and, for its time, quite novel concept, the integration of reality television directly into the classic slasher formula.
The Dangertainment plotline.
Exactly. The premise is this. A year after Laurie's death, a group of unsuspecting college students, Sarah Moyer, Bill Woodlake, Donna Chang, Jen Danzig, Jim Morgan, and Rudy Grimes, win a competition to appear on a brand new live internet reality show called Dangertainment.
Sounds very early 2000s reality TV contest.
Yeah, totally. The show's objective, according to the synopsis, is for these students to spend a terrifying night in Michael Myers' abandoned childhood house with the chilling aim of trying to figure out what led him to kill.
Exploitative, voyeuristic.
Yeah.
Checks out for the reality TV satire angle.
It's designed as this voyeuristic, exploitative exploration of evil. What's particularly noteworthy for the era, and something that clearly felt very cutting edge for 2002, is the innovative use of technology.
The head cameras.
Yeah, the participants are equipped with head cameras, and their entire experience is broadcast live over the internet, allowing people from around the world to tune in and watch.
Which, you have to remember, in 2002, live internet broadcasting wasn't nearly as ubiquitous as it is now. It felt futuristic almost.
True. It's an interesting early look at how streaming and influencer culture might merge with horror, even if crudely.
And that's where we see the film's very conscious attempt to be incredibly contemporary and capitalize on emerging media trends. What's truly fascinating here, reading the production notes, is that the writer, Larry Brand, had actually conceived of this original slasher concept independently.
Oh, really? It wasn't originally a Halloween idea?
Nope. It was inspired by the burgeoning rise of reality television, which was absolutely exploding in popularity with shows like Survivor and Big Brother. In his initial idea, a killer would enter a house full of cameras, making the viewer, both within the film and the actual audience, completely unsure if the murders unfolding before them were real or merely staged entertainment for the show.
That's actually a pretty solid meta concept.
It is. This compelling meta-concept was then cleverly repurposed and adapted for the Halloween universe, giving Resurrection its unique, if somewhat controversial, hook. The show's directors, Freddie Harris, played by Busta Rhymes.
Busta Rhymes. Quite the casting choice.
And Nora Winston, played by Tyra Banks, are carefully placing cameras throughout the house to capture every moment, believing they have full control. But the film takes an immediate dark turn right from the setup.
Of course it does. It's Halloween.
While preparing the house, cameraman Charlie is brutally killed by the real Michael, who, naturally, has returned to Haddonfield. This single act signals to the audience, though not yet to all the characters, that this isn't just a staged show. Genuine horror is about to unfold.
Setting the stakes immediately.
Exactly. On Halloween night, the students, head cameras strapped on, enter the house and separate into groups, beginning their search for clues. It's a very clear attempt at meta-commentary on the burgeoning internet age and our appetite for true crime and voyeurism, even if the execution was, as we'll discuss, critically lambasted.
Right.
It's definitely trying to tap into that early 2000s zeitgeist.
And that blur between what's staged entertainment and what's terrifyingly real is where the film really tries to ratchet up the tension, playing on audience expectations. As Sarah messages the others from within the house, we're introduced to Miles Deckard Barton.
Played by Ryan Merriman.
Right, who is watching the live broadcast from a party. He's our audience surrogate, seeing things from the outside, initially just another party-goer watching the show.
The guy at the party who gets it?
Kind of, yeah. The horror then escalates quickly with the first on-screen student murder by Michael. Bill Woodlake is dispatched. Then, here's where it gets really interesting and aims to mess with perceptions, according to the plot summary. Donna and Jim discover a wall filled with fake corpses, prop bodies, clearly designed to scare the contestants. This is the crucial moment where they realize the show is, indeed, a setup designed merely as a stunt.
It's all fake reveal for them.
They understand it's all part of the game. Just moments before Donna is brutally killed by the real Michael.
Oh, that's nasty timing. Classic horror irony.
Right. That specific sequence perfectly encapsulates the film's attempt to play with the audience's perception of reality, both within the film itself and perhaps even for us watching it. It asks, how much can you blur the lines before genuine horror becomes undeniable?
It absolutely does, and the film continues to toy with those expectations, both for the characters and the audience. At the party where Deckard is watching Dangertainment, the other partygoers are also witnessing these murders. But initially, like the participants in the house, they're unsure.
Is it real or is it Memorex? I mean, Dangertainment.
Exactly. Is it part of the act? Is it a brilliant piece of reality television? Only Deckard, through his close observation and perhaps a more critical eye, seems to realize that what he's seeing is terrifyingly real.
He's the one paying attention.
This adds an intriguing outside perspective to the unfolding horror, where one character is genuinely recognizing the danger while others are just consuming it as entertainment. The confusion is further compounded by Freddy's ill-conceived plan.
Oh God, Freddy.
He decides to enter the house dressed as Michael himself, intending to scare the competitors for the show, thinking he's in control.
This can't end well.
In a darkly comedic and utterly crucial sequence, he actually mistakes the real Michael for Charlie, the cameraman he thinks is just slacking off, and rather nonchalantly shoos him out of the house towards the garage where Nora is. This, of course, leads to more very real fatalities than the show intended, entirely due to Freddy's misjudgment.
So Freddy basically points Michael towards another victim. Yikes.
Pretty much. Then, the terrifying realization for Rudy, Sarah, and Jim occurs when they find Freddy, still in his cheap Michael costume, absolutely desperate. He reveals the entire scheme to them, begging them to cooperate for the financial reward, still believing he has control of the situation and can salvage the show.
Just play along, guys, while people are actually dying.
Right. After Freddy leaves to continue his ill-fated charade, the trio decides they've had enough. They plan to gather the others and leave the house. But the definitive moment comes when Jen discovers Bill's very real corpse.
The proof they can't ignore.
And then Michael brutally decapitates her, right in front of Rudy, Sarah, and Jim. This is the absolute undeniable moment they realize it is not Freddy in the costume. It is the true, murderous Michael Myers. The game has become horrifyingly real.
Okay, now they get it.
From that point, Michael proceeds to systematically kill Jim and Rudy, brutally eliminating the remaining participants of the show, leaving Sarah as the lone survivor to be hunted upstairs.
Down to the final girl.
Which raises a very important question. What was the film's commentary here, however crude, on the desensitization to violence that can occur when audiences, both fictional within the film watching the reality show and us, the actual viewers, struggle to distinguish between staged entertainment and genuine terror?
Yeah, was it trying to say something about us consuming violence as entertainment?
It was certainly trying to push a boundary and critique media consumption, even if its execution was, well, pretty uneven according to most critics.
That's a profound point, and the film certainly pushes those themes as we head into its thrilling conclusion, focusing squarely on Sarah's desperate fight for survival. She manages to lock herself in a bedroom, and in a clever, timely use of the film's core technology,
The headcams and the live feed.
she frantically begs Deckard, who is still watching the live broadcast, for help. As the other partygoers finally grasp that the murders are real, Deckard becomes Sarah's unlikely lifeline.
The remote helper.
He frantically messages her Michael's locations within the house, using the live camera feeds, effectively becoming her eyes and ears to help her avoid him. This remote technological assistance adds a genuinely modern twist to the classic cat-and-mouse game.
It's actually one of the more interesting uses of the premise, I think.
I agree. So let's unpack this. The final confrontation. Sarah, running for her life, eventually runs right into Freddy, who, surprisingly, is still alive despite the chaos.
Freddy Kung Fu Harris lives.
Just as they connect, Michael finds them and in a brutal moment stabs Freddy. It looks like the end for him, but, well, this is Halloween. Resurrection.
And this leads into a traumatic end sequence, which is truly a signature of the Halloween franchise. The seemingly unstoppable killer, the last survivor, and a final desperate confrontation that often feels definitive, even when it isn't.
Right, the showdown.
Sarah, managing to escape Michael, runs into the tunnels beneath the house, eventually finding an exit that leads to the garage. It's here, the Wikipedia entry notes, that she tragically discovers Nora Winston's body. Apparently this was a deleted scene in home media releases.
Oh, interesting. So theatrical audiences maybe didn't know Nora's fate for sure?
Possibly, yeah. It provides closure anyway. Michael, of course, isn't far behind and again attacks Sarah. But then, in another twist, Freddy, remarkably still alive after being stabbed,
He's tougher than he looks.
finds them both and bravely confronts Michael amidst an electrical fire that has started in the garage.
Sparks flying, literally.
The apparent defeat of Michael comes when Freddy manages to electrocute him, leading to what looks like Michael's definitive demise in the burning garage. Freddy then carries Sarah to safety, appearing as the unexpected hero.
Busta Rhymes saves the day. Didn't see that coming.
The aftermath offers a touch of dark humor and a further layer of media critique as Freddie and Sarah are interviewed by local news, thrust into the spotlight as survivors. Sarah, understandably, thanks Deckard for saving her life, acknowledging his unique role.
Nice little payoff for that plot thread.
Meanwhile, Freddie, in a moment of his characteristic aggression and showmanship, actually assaults the reporter.
Wait, what? He just attacks the reporter.
Yep. Which is this bizarre, darkly comedic beat that completely shatters any lingering serious tone they were trying to build.
Wow, okay. Talk about tonal whiplash.
But as is tradition in the Halloween universe, Michael's fate is never truly sealed. He's presumed dead and taken to the morgue. However, in the film's infamous, ambiguous ending, just as the coroner prepares to examine his body, Michael suddenly awakens, his eyes opening with a chilling stare.
Classic horror ending, right?
Oh.
He's never really dead.
Exactly. It's a classic horror trope, ensuring the door is always left open for another sequel, another return. It's worth briefly noting the Wikipedia page mentions an alternate ending, a more definitive one, where Sarah finally kills Michael by stabbing him in the face with an axe after he chokes Freddie.
Okay, that sounds more final.
But the chosen ending emphasizes Michael's near supernatural resilience. If we connect this to the bigger picture, Michael's consistent, almost frustrating ability to survive seemingly fatal injuries is a core tenet of the franchise.
It's his defining characteristic almost.
And Resurrection leans heavily into this, perhaps to the chagrin of some viewers looking for a true, definitive end to the boogeyman. It's a clear statement that Michael is essentially unkillable, a relentless force of nature that can always return no matter the odds.
That unkillable nature really defines him, doesn't it? It's part of what makes him so terrifying, but also, as we've discussed, can lead to narrative dilemmas like the paramedic twist. Now, let's shift focus to the fascinating challenges and often compromised creative choices made during the film's production, because it's here, reading through the Wikipedia sections on development, that we can truly understand some of the film's more perplexing decisions.
Yeah, the making of story is often just as interesting as the film itself.
We touched on it earlier, but it bears reiterating and elaborating on the Jaime Lee Curtis situation. That now infamous paramedic twist wasn't just a random plot point pulled out of thin air. It was a crucial, almost desperate production compromise.
Born of necessity, really.
It stemmed directly from Jaime Lee Curtis's unwavering desire to leave the series definitively after H20 clashed with producer Moustapha Akkad's contractual stipulations that Michael Myers could not be permanently killed off.
Creative desires versus contractual obligations. A classic Hollywood story.
This created an incredibly tightrope walk for the filmmakers. They literally had to find a loophole to justify Michael's survival while giving Curtis the ending she desired, and the paramedic switch was their answer. It's also interesting to note, reading about alternative concepts, that there was a completely rejected and wildly different concept from Daniel Farrens, the screenwriter of Halloween, The Curse of Michael Myers.
Oh, from the Thorn Timeline guy.
Yeah. His idea for Halloween 8. Lore of the Dead would have featured Laurie Strode as the main antagonist, perhaps driven mad by her trauma.
Whoa, Laurie as the villain, that's a choice.
A significantly darker and possibly even more controversial direction than the reality show premise we ultimately got. It shows how many avenues they explored to keep the franchise going.
Indeed, the creative genesis of Resurrection is quite a rabbit hole, filled with pivots and compromises. Producer Paul Freeman brought in writer Larry Brand, with whom he shared an agent, and Brand decided to repurpose that slasher concept he had previously conceived.
The reality show idea.
Exactly. This idea, as we discussed, was inspired by the burgeoning rise of reality television, featuring a killer in a camera-filled house where the line between real and staged murders was cleverly blurred. This core concept then became the foundational premise for Resurrection. Brand initially pitched his script as Halloween, MichaelMyers.com.
Very 2002 title.
Extremely.
Yeah.
Which then changed to Halloween, Homecoming. Ultimately, the producers settled on Resurrection as the subtitle, explicitly because they wanted a title that clearly and immediately let audiences know Michael Myers was alive and back, leaving no ambiguity.
Makes sense from a marketing perspective.
Brand even had an alternative original ending for Michael, where after being left in the burning house, firemen would arrive the next day to find his inert body. It would then appear to jump on them.
Jump scare.
Only for it to be revealed as a cadaveric spasm before Michael collapsed into ash.
Okay, that's a different. Michael turning to ash.
Yeah, it highlights how many different ideas, how many deaths they were throwing around for Michael. constantly trying to find a way to end him, or seemingly end him, without actually ending him for good. After an original draft by Aaron Kruger was rejected, Sean Hood was brought in to write a script based on Brand's work, refining the story and making it what we ultimately saw.
So it went through a few writers' hands.
Seems so. What's truly fascinating here is the directorial search, which also points to the challenges they faced. Both Whitney Ranzig and Dwight H. Little were reportedly approached to direct the film, but ultimately turned it down.
Wonder why. Maybe the script concerns.
Possibly. Suggesting that perhaps the script or the franchise's direction at that point wasn't universally appealing. This led to Rick Rosenthal, the director of Halloween II, being chosen, bringing a familiar, albeit older, face back to the franchise.
Maybe hoping to recapture some glory.
This choice might have been seen as a way to link back to the series' roots and give it some credibility, leveraging a director who understood the original spirit of the films. There are also some interesting casting anecdotes from the Wikipedia page that shed light on the marketing strategies.
Like what?
Danielle Harris, who famously played Jamie Lloyd in Halloween 4 and 5, was considered for a role in the film.
Oh, wow. That would have been a huge fan moment.
Would have been a nostalgic nod for many fans, yeah. And after producers enjoyed working with LL Cool J in Age 20, they considered another rapper for the role of Freddy, as LL Cool J was apparently too expensive for his second appearance.
Budget constraints.
Coolio even auditioned for Freddy before Busta Rhymes was cast, showing they were aiming for a specific type of star power.
Coolio versus Busta Rhymes as Freddy. Interesting alternate universe.
Larry Brand explicitly stated, according to the notes, that both Busta Rhymes and Tyra Banks were brought into the movie as a conscious decision to make it more appealing to a black audience, highlighting a very specific and deliberate marketing strategy at play to broaden the film's appeal.
Okay, that makes sense. Targeting demographics.
And here's a surprising, almost amusing detail from behind the scenes. Bianca Kashlich's screams had to be entirely dubbed in post-production because, despite being a horror film lead, she reportedly had an inability to scream authentically during filming.
You're kidding. The final girl couldn't scream.
Apparently not. It's a small detail, but it speaks to the unexpected hurdles in making a slasher film. The film's trailer was delivered on April 26, 2002, strategically timed alongside the release of Jason X.
Debased Jason, what a time for horror!
Another major slasher franchise entry, highlighting the competitive horror market of the early 2000s. Principal photography began on May 14, 2001, in Vancouver, British Columbia, with the opening scene specifically filmed at Riverview Hospital in Coquitlam, BC, a location often used for eerie institutional settings.
Got it. Okay, so beyond the on-screen action and production choices, the film's music also had its own interesting story, reflecting that blend of classic horror sensibilities and early 2000s trends.
Yeah, the sound is always crucial in horror.
The score for Halloween, Resurrection, was composed by Danny Lux. His score consciously incorporated electroacoustic instrumentation, firmly rooting itself in the synthesizer-heavy scores that were so prevalent in the early 1980s.
Trying to get that Carpenter vibe back.
Exactly. A clear attempt to capture that classic, eerie Halloween feeling while still trying to sound contemporary. And interestingly, reflecting the casting choices and the musical trends of the time, the film also featured several rap and hip-hop songs.
Right, the Busta Rhymes effect, maybe.
Creating a very distinct auditory landscape for the movie.
And that's where we find a really direct and fascinating contrast to the general critical reviews of the film itself. While the film was largely panned, some assessments of its sound and theme music were actually quite praising, according to the reception section.
Oh, really? People liked the music.
Well, some aspects. For instance, critic Steve Newton, writing for the Georgia Straight, specifically complimented the film's creepy and unsettling revival of the original iconic theme.
Can't beat that theme.
Despite the fact that he was quite critical of the film itself, as well as those additional rap tracks that he found jarring. So it seems the score, particularly its adherence to the franchise's signature sound, managed to resonate with some critics and provide a degree of continuity, even when the rest of the film didn't.
It's a testament to the enduring power of Carpenter's original musical motif, isn't it?
Absolutely. That theme is legendary for a reason.
Right. So with all that context, the contentious plot, the innovative premise, the production struggles, the music, let's finally analyze the ultimate verdict. The film's box office performance and its almost universal critical condemnation.
The bottom line, basically.
Halloween. Resurrection was released on July 12, 2002 in the U.S. In its opening weekend, it finished in fourth place, grossing $12.3 million. It was behind some pretty big hitters at the box office that weekend: Reign of Fire, Road to Perdition, and Men in Black 2.
Okay, fourth place isn't terrible, but not amazing either.
Its worldwide total ultimately reached $37.7 million against a $15 million budget, with $30.4 million coming from domestic sales and $7.3 million overseas. So what does all this financial data mean?
Did it make money?
Technically, yes. A box office success, it certainly made more than its budget back, but it was widely considered an underperformance, especially when compared to its immediate predecessor, Halloween H20.
Ah, the comparison point.
H20 earned a much more impressive $75 million globally. And crucially, the domestic ticket sales for Resurrection were down over 55% from H20, selling approximately 5.2 million tickets compared to H20's approximate 11.7 million.
Oof, that's a big drop-off in audience interest, a really clear decline.
Undeniable.
The box office figures tell one story of decline, but the critical response paints an even starker, more damning picture, being overwhelmingly negative. Let's look at the aggregate scores detailed on the Wikipedia page.
Brace yourselves.
Rotten Tomatoes, for example, reported that only 10% of 70 critics' reviews were positive.
10%? Wow.
Giving it a dismal average rating of 3.4 out of 10.
Yeah.
The website's consensus was quite damning and a rather witty reading. The only thing this tired slasher flick may resurrect is nostalgia for when the genre was still fresh and scary.
Ouch. That's brutal.
Metacritic, using as weighted average, assigned the film a score of 19 out of 100 based on 17 critics, indicating overwhelming dislike.
19 out of 100. That's really bad.
That are the lowest scores you'll see for a major release.
Yeah.
Interestingly, and this is where the disconnect becomes apparent, despite this critical hammering, audiences polled by CinemaScore gave the film an average grade of B plus B.
B plus S. Okay. How does that happen?
It suggests a pretty significant gap between professional critics and the general movie-going public's perception. This is something we see often in horror, right? Critics might look for narrative depth or innovation.
Well, audiences just want the scares and maybe some Busta Rhymes kung fu.
Maybe. Or they're just more forgiving of franchise entries. They're looking for different things.
Yeah.
And we have some truly memorable critical quotes that perfectly illustrate this strong negative sentiment. Dave Kerr of the New York Times famously, and rather poetically, said, "Spectators will indeed sit open-mouthed before the screen, not screaming but yawning."
Bird.
Peter Travers of Rolling Stone offered a rather life-affirming, sarcastic review. "Every sequel you skip will be 2 hours gained. Consider this review life-affirming."
Basically telling readers to save their time and money.
And Joe Layton of Variety bluntly stated, "It seems even more uselessly redundant and shamelessly money-grubbing than most third-rate horror sequels," directly criticizing its perceived lack of artistic merit and its commercial motivations.
Calling it a cash grab, essentially.
Pretty much. Perhaps the most damning critique, though, and one that resonates deeply for fans of the original masterpiece, came from John Carpenter himself in 2018.
Oh, what did the master himself say?
He said with clear exasperation, "I watched the one in that house with all the cameras. Oh, my God. Oh, Lord God." And then the guy gives a speech at the end about violence. What the hell? Oh, my Lord. I couldn't believe.
Wow. If Carpenter hates it that much.
His reaction perfectly encapsulates the sentiment of many who felt the film veered too far from the essence, the heart, and the raw simplicity of what made the original Halloween so terrifying and effective in the first place.
Yeah.
This raises an important question for us. How do such stark differences between critical and audience reception affect a film's perception over time, and what does it truly say about the evolving expectations of horror fans and critics alike in a franchise that has spanned decades and continues to reinvent itself?
It's that constant tension, isn't it, between what critics value and what audiences enjoy, especially in genre films.
Is it a sign that critics and audiences are just looking for different things in horror? It seems likely.
That's a powerful question, and it really brings us to the end of our deep dive into Halloween. Resurrection, all filtered through its Wikipedia page. We've certainly been on a roller coaster journey acknowledging its unique, albeit often heavily criticized, attempt to infuse new life into a long-standing horror franchise.
Definitely a journey.
From the truly bold and polarizing choices, like the controversial fate of Laurie Strode, a decision born out of real-world production demands, to the innovative yet divisive reality TV premise that tried to capitalize on a burgeoning cultural trend.
For better or worse.
Resurrection definitely tried to break new ground. Even if it often stumbled along the way in the eyes of many, it was a film trying to do something different. You have to give it that.
Yeah, you do. What's fascinating here is how Halloween, Resurrection, despite its critical panning and box office underperformance compared to its predecessor, actually pushed boundaries within the franchise, whether successfully or not. It serves as a stark testament to the ongoing challenges of maintaining a horror icon's relevance in an ever-changing media landscape.
Keeping Michael scary after all these years.
Especially when dealing with the expectations of a decades-old fan base and the commercial realities of Hollywood. Ultimately, Resurrection's divisive reception forced the series to rethink its direction entirely, directly leading to subsequent reboots that tried to correct course and offer fresh takes.
It kind of marked the end of that road, forcing a new beginning.
Exactly. It proved that simply continuing the story without a compelling, well-executed vision wasn't enough. So, considering Halloween, Resurrection's divisive narrative decisions and its attempt to integrate emerging media trends like reality TV and internet voyeurism, how do you, our listener, think horror franchises can best balance innovation with respecting their established lore and fan expectations?
Especially now in this era of constant reboots and remakes.
It's a puzzle for creators, isn't it? And a conversation that continues to evolve.